Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. I'm very excited that today's episode I'm featuring a voice that's been quietly making waves in contemporary Australian literature. I'm joined by the acclaimed author, Anna Johnston. In this conversation, we talk about her remarkable debut novel and its journey to being commissioned by Netflix, the deeply personal inspiration she drew from her grandfather, and how her experience of ADHD has shaped both her creative process and her storytelling. We also dive into her newly released second book, When Lemons Give You Life, and what this next chapter represents for her as a writer. It's an honest, wide-ranging discussion about craft, resilience, and the moments that define us. So sit back, listen to Anna's story. I know you're going to find it extremely inspirational. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy. Hey, Anna, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So before we dive into your story, I would love for you to share a bit about yourself to the audience, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I'm a former baby, aspiring octogenarian, and an Aussie author with a love for the heartfelt and hilarious. I grew up in country Victoria before moving to Melbourne, where I live by the beach with my husband, 2 kids, and my beautiful adopted greyhound.
Oh, what a great intro. And I have seen your gorgeous greyhound on your Instagram, and I love the clothes attire that you put them in as well. I think it's and everyone loves kind of dogs on their Instagram. So yeah, it's nice that you share
Yeah, I
a bit
can't
of
get
your
enough.
personal. So look, it's a very exciting time for you because you have your next novel coming out very, very, very soon, which we'll talk about
Yes.
today. But I would love, and I know the audience always loves to know kind of how your journey started. So we can just go back a little bit, rewind kind of
Mm.
maybe when your writing journey actually started and when you then decided that, hey, I want to actually take this more seriously.
Yeah, so I had always loved creative writing as a child. While most kids were playing with Legos or Barbies, my best friend and I would write plays and short films, which we would perform or record for our very patient parents. That kind of really sparked a lifelong love of storytelling, of theatre, of screenplay. But I had always thought that I would follow in my father's footsteps and become a doctor. So my dad was a wonderful GP and I studied really hard in school. I got into medicine. But it was when I was about halfway through that I realized that this wasn't the path for me. And having shared a really close relationship with all 4 of my grandparents and even my great grandfather, I felt very drawn to work in aged care. And so I ended up changing degrees, switching to health promotion. And then it was when my grandfather, Fred, was diagnosed with dementia that I left a local government career at the time to go and work in his nursing home so that we could spend more time together. That was where I really found, like my calling, I guess, and also what would be the setting for my future novels. Unfortunately, I had an injury which left me unable to return to aged care, and I loved being a stay-at-home mum for over a decade to my 2 beautiful kids. And it wasn't like many people until the pandemic, that you're sitting there. I made a sourdough starter, but I also decided, look, I'd really like to, do something creative, and I'd like to try writing a book. So I enrolled in a couple of online writing courses with the Australian Writers Centre, which was a really great way just to sort of to connect with other aspiring authors, but also to be able to get really valuable feedback on your work, as well as learning what it takes to, sustain a 100,000 word novel. So that was sort of where my writing journey began during the pandemic. I was incredibly lucky with my journey to publication. It happened very quickly, which I credit to, the main character of my first book. If you've read The Borrowed Life of Frederick Fife, that was inspired by my grandfather, and he's basically was the kindest person on the planet. And I think that kindness was really magnetic. So, I credit it all to him. Yeah. And then it kind of, things really happened fast. So I got a publishing deal in Australia and the US. And then last year, The Borrowed Life of Frederick Fife was optioned by Netflix, which is super exciting. And I'm now a full-time author. And yeah, very, very grateful to be where I am. So yeah, very
Yeah.
unexpected career change, but I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, and what a journey though.
Mm,
And I think like what was it the kind of what was the moment like obviously COVID hit and I think it ignited a lot of other authors to take that step as well to be like,
yes.
okay, this could be my time. I've got nothing to lose.
Mm.
What made you kind of start that journey and feel like this is actually the right time for me to do it? And then off the back of that, what made you decide, okay, I'm going to write about something that I know and it's going to be kind of almost dedicated to my grandfather?
Yeah. So I guess I sort of thought, if I'm ever going to do this, now is the time. Like I have the time, I have the motivation. In Melbourne, we had one of the longest lockdowns. So, we were at home for the good part of a year, really. And so, yeah, and I just sort of thought, look, if I never try, I'll never know. And
Mm.
so that thought sort of kept me going. I really missed working in aged care. Like I'm absolutely at home when I'm surrounded by octogenarians. It's just my absolute happy place. And so I
Yeah.
guess, writing in that setting allowed me to sort of, experience it to a degree. Also, a lot of older characters in literature are sort of they're either stereotyped or they're there as a mentor or they're sort of there because, oh, they can do this amazing thing. Like they're riding a motorbike, they're escaping and they're doing all these like things that they're sort of like heralded for what younger people can do, like
Mm.
kind of proving that they've still got it. And we see that a
Yeah.
lot in TV that there's movies about older people who are astronauts or like who are
Yeah.
wearing high heels and they look way younger or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to write a story where being old was okay
Hmm.
and that, with a failing body and all of those things that you could still be an absolute hero. And,
Yeah.
you know, my grandfather's superpower was his kindness, like his absolute
Mm.
ability to no matter who he was with, he would treat people, yeah, with unconditional empathy and kindness. And so that was an idea I really wanted to explore.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And even just reading like the book that's now about to be released, you can tell like the even the staff who are in kind of the nursing homes, like
Yeah,
you can just imagine like having worked in that environment, you must know kind of all those different personalities that you come across as well. And I think you describe them extremely, extremely well. Yeah, because they're all very different. Like I've had grandparents yeah, who've been in care homes and one there's never one the same, but there are
that's right.
similarities in the staff as well. So,
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you captured it very, very well.
Thank you.
So you decided like when you decided to write your book, you also then did a course. How did that support you in then kind of going into like the publishing journey?
Yeah, it was really everything. I think, having the connection with other writers was so valuable. It's like that thing, they say that, if you're trying to like go to the gym, you should go with a
Mm.
friend because it makes you more accountable.
Yes,
Like that never worked for me, but with writing it did. So like from that course, we formed like a writing group who's still in touch today and
lovely.
we would send each other chapter samples or like, what do you think of this? And it was just a wonderful way to, yeah, to get good at like editing your own work, but also through reading other people's work, it sort of helps you to learn, okay, what works here and what doesn't. And you sort of feed off each other. Also, the tutors there were amazing. So they're a lot of them are from the publishing industry or they're authors themselves. So they really know what they're talking about. And although I'd done creative writing in school, I certainly hadn't learnt how to structure a novel because it's a very different thing than just writing a short creative story.
Mm.
And then they also give you all the information on, how do you go about getting published? What are the opportunities in Australia? They were the ones that told me about the literary speed dating event through the
Mhm.
Australian Society of Authors, which ended up being my path to publication. And so, yeah, I definitely think I wouldn't be here without having done those courses, because it just gave me not only knowledge of the craft, but also those opportunities and knowledge of how the industry works.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge believer in those kind of courses and even the associations that we have like around the world.
Mm.
Because yeah, it's just an opportunity, like you said, to connect with other authors, aspiring authors, to learn from them, but also to help you upskill in that area and hone your skills to make sure
Mm.
you're ready to be sent to like an agent or a publisher. So you said obviously you entered like this competition. What did that look like for you then in terms of, did you then get an agent or was it straight to a publisher?
So, yeah, I was ready to send out all of my query letters, but yeah, I was told about this opportunity and you could either pitch to an agent or publisher. I think you get 4 pitches over the course of the time, but the first pitch I had was to a publisher at
Mhm.
Penguin Random House, and miraculously that was the yes. Like it's a unicorn story, and I don't credit it to my own ability whatsoever. I think I was miraculously, right time, right place, right person. And so, yeah, that it came from there. And then I decided to get an agent
Mhm.
after being offered that deal, which was a really wonderful move to just, yeah, have the support of an agent, the knowledge of an agent, and who then went out and was able to secure, yeah, the international deals and the film
Yeah,
rights.
yeah. And what did it look like for you in terms of like when you pitched to the publisher and you got the offer, like then how long did it take until, everything came together and your book was out in the world?
It's testing the memory. I I think I pitched, I might be like telling lies here. I think I pitched, um it must have been like around June, July, and then it sort of took probably, like, I heard very quickly that she wanted
Yeah.
to read the manuscript. Then it takes a little while, obviously, to hear back, like a
Mm.
couple of months. And then I signed the deal at the end of 2023,
Yeah.
and the book was published in July 2024. So
Okay, nice.
because I had, sort of honed it a lot. When you're writing your first book,
Yeah,
you have the time and the leisure to sort of, really, really polish it and do many, many, many drafts. And
yeah.
so um, it was already thankfully in pretty good shape. So it didn't need the longer
That's great.
editorial time
Yeah.
like the second book did. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And did you instantly get offered a 2-book deal? Because you're obviously, I'm just gonna
I,
hold up your book that you have coming out.
yes, I did.
Yeah, amazing. And what did that feel like? Because obviously sometimes I've asked this
Mm.
question and, the author comes back and says, "I felt pressure," because they then had to think
Yeah.
about the second book. But what did that look like for you? Did you, when you got offered that book deal, that 2-book deal, obviously you were probably so excited that you got the book deal and that you've got your debut coming out. Did you already
Yeah.
have, like, the second novel in your mind, or is that something that you had to then create, like, later down the track?
I didn't have a lot of it in my mind. I had the seed of an
Yeah,
idea, which I sort of, spoke about, and I created I think like a 1 paragraph pitch for that
yeah,
idea. But it's certainly, yeah, it was after the publication of my second one that I sat down and really tried to nut it out.
yeah,
Obviously, with the second book, you do have a deadline, and
yeah,
I was also, the publicity for the first book probably was much more involved than I had anticipated, so it didn't leave as much writing time for the second, and
mm,
so the second went through a much larger structural edit, as I've heard is the case with most second books, because
yeah,
it's, you haven't sort of polished it to the when you're as you would when you're submitting for the first time.
yeah, yeah. And what did it feel like? So when you had your debut come out, how did that feel for you, and what were some of the kind of the things that you had to be involved in?
Oh, I was over the moon, and also just in utter disbelief. Like, I just really couldn't believe it. I had a huge feeling of wishing my grandfather could have read it. There was
Mm,
kind of that bittersweet joy of like, I wish, he could see this, and my nan as well. But yeah, absolute joy, nerves as well, because yeah, the journey of being an author is unlike anything I've ever
Yeah.
experienced, especially because you put out this thing that's very close to your heart and you've put your, everything into it, and then it's suddenly out there for everyone to judge.
Yeah.
And so, like, I already have a little bit of rejection sensitivity with, I have ADHD, which we
Yeah.
might talk about later. But, so just kind of learning how to, yeah, to be able to take all kinds of reviews, and because obviously some people will love the book, others it won't be their cup of tea. And so it's just that learning curve of, yeah, being able to deal with all that. But again, I'm part of a debut crew, which is
Yeah.
a group of authors whose book came out in the same year. And it was just amazing to have that support because we were all going through this same very strange, very roller coaster of a ride.
Yeah.
So having that, and also having, authors who had been in the game for a while, like everyone in the community is just so kind, I found. And, talking to sort of mentors about things was just wonderful because they could really understand, what you're going through. It really is
Yeah.
a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so lovely that you've got a group because yeah, they know exactly what you're
Mm,
going through. So, they're kind of your network, aren't they? To kind of
absolutely.
lean on. Yeah, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of evolved quite quickly for you, right? Because you said then you got an agent, you got international rights, then Netflix.
Mm.
How did that happen, and how did you feel when you heard Netflix were interested in your debut?
Yeah, it was amazing. So screenwriting and like theatre has always been my first passion. Like it's something
Hmm.
that I love. And when I was in the pandemic going to write something, I was sort of weighing up, do I try to write a screenplay or do I write a novel? I ended up deciding to write a novel because I really wanted to get deep inside the character's
Hmm.
head and point of view. And it's much easier to show that, in a 100,000 word novel where you can really get into that emotion. But certainly the number one goal from the start was to see it adapted for screen. Like that was my number one dream.
Yeah.
And so it got picked up by some wonderful screenwriters first. That was what happened, yeah, before it came out actually. And then, yeah, they went away and worked on it. And then, yeah, they told me that they'd sat down with Netflix and, they wanted to make it into a movie. And it was just amazing. Like, yeah, I still can't believe it, honestly.
Like a pinch me moment, right?
Yeah, and it's certainly an industry, like, they were kind enough to let me have sort of some collaboration, but certainly, in the future, it's definitely an industry that I'm very interested in as well
Yeah.
to learn
Yeah.
more about.
Do we know, like, when production starts or when is it supposed to be kind of out?
No, there's no news on that yet. I believe at the moment they're looking for a director, so it's been
Yeah.
written and yeah, so
Mm.
it takes a very long time in that industry, and there's
Yeah.
lots and lots of puzzle pieces that have to fit together.
Yeah.
Some things don't end up being made.
Yeah.
There's books that sort of bounce around being optioned, but so far so good. And yeah, even to just be at this stage is just I'm pinching myself.
Yeah. It's such an amazing opportunity. And yeah, I think it's a unique story as well, because just in terms of like the style and the stories that involve obviously the care homes or the nursing homes.
Mm,
You don't see it too often, but it's yeah,
no,
I mean, you've got a real good sense of humor as well. So is that what
thank
are you
you.
like personality-wise? Is that kind of you as a person? Do you kind of
Yeah, I'm 50% humor, 50% sentimentality, 20% emotion, and bad
yeah.
at math.
'Cause
It's
yeah, I mean,
totally
reading
me.
your
Like, yeah, humor is my it's yeah, like it's what I look for in all of my friends. It's what I look for in a partner. Our family
yeah,
just thrives on humor, so it's huge part. I
yeah,
couldn't
love
write without it.
no, well, it definitely shines through and, it's one of those moments where you find yourself smiling kind of throughout the book.
Yeah.
And it's nice because, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm someone who reads at the end of the day. And after,
Yeah.
working and having the kids, you just want something to, make you happy before you go to bed. So yours definitely
Mm,
does that. And
good.
yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. In terms of like being an author, because I love asking this question because everyone kind of has similar but very different answers. What would you say is kind of like a kind of a peak moment for you as an author? Like, what is something that you love about being an author? And then maybe from the other side of that, like, what's maybe a struggle or something that maybe you don't like as much being kind of in this field?
I love connecting with readers, and it's
Mhm.
just been like with Frederick Fife, I've been brought to tears really, or blown away by the number of people that have personally contacted me, people who have loved ones with dementia or, issues that were represented in the book. I had someone reach out to me and said that this has made me want to reconnect with my estranged father, this book,
Mhm.
and so I always write to not just entertain, but to try to, hopefully change something in readers, like to sort of, give them a different point of view, or to be challenged to be kind or to
Yeah.
connect or to reach out. And when you actually hear of that happening, I had an elderly gentleman write me a handwritten letter all the way from Canada. There's just been
Wow.
so many things, and I feel incredibly privileged to do
Yeah.
that because I also really miss working in aged care.
Mm.
It's just been such a wonderful way to still be able to have some kind of input in the industry, obviously from a fictional standpoint. But yeah, if people can sort of walk away with a bit more understanding or compassion or, kindness, or people that are going through things can be seen, then
Mhm.
that's just an absolute joy for me.
Yeah, amazing.
The hardest thing I think would be dealing with the negative reviews. You learn pretty early on not to it's very tempting to stalk Goodreads and to
Yeah.
read all the reviews. I tend to just stay away from that now. And thankfully, all the bookstagrammers are really lovely, and they normally only tag authors in a review if it is a positive one. But
Yes.
occasionally you see the odd bad one, and it's hard not to take it personally.
Mm.
But as my husband always reminds me, like a bad review, it just means that the book wasn't for that person.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. And I don't like spicy food, and I could have the top chef cook me a dish
Yeah.
that is spicy and I still wouldn't like it because I don't like spicy food, and that's
Yeah.
okay. So,
Yeah.
but it's when you get the readers who absolutely get exactly what you were going for and they really, feel it in their heart, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, yeah. And we're never gonna be in a world where you please everybody, exactly like what you were just
No,
saying with
no.
food. I think it's just how they write those reviews, isn't it? It's like sometimes people take
Yeah,
it to another level where you're like, you don't need to say it that intensely, but
yeah,
um thanks at
yeah,
least for reading my book. So yeah, I think it's one of the situations that a lot of authors that I've been speaking to have just said you have to develop a thick skin in this
you
industry, but
do.
also try not to read the reviews.
Yeah.
Like a lot of I interact with a lot of bookstagrammers on Instagram as well. And a lot of them, as you mentioned, they'll only put a review up for the book if it's like 4 or 5 star. So they won't really ever
Yeah,
go below that because yeah, they typically tag the publisher and the author. And so yeah, they don't want to kind of put that negativity in place. And I think that's rightly so.
yes.
Like I'm someone who I don't write a lot of reviews outside of this industry. Like if I go to a
Mm,
restaurant, someone who will take that initiative to write a review. I know there's
mm,
other that will, but I tend to just kind of keep a lot of it to myself. Or if I'm raving about something, I'll just do word of mouth to like friends or family, and pass it on
yes.
that way.
Yeah,
But yeah, everyone's very different, and I think there's a place for all different authors out there. Hence why we see so many established authors,
yeah.
but we are seeing so many like debut authors come through. Like it's crazy, like how
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It would be a
yeah
boring world if
yeah
everyone was the same and liked the exact same thing. So,
yeah yeah. And I think
yeah,
there's enough space in the world for everybody, right? So
yes.
and at different times. I mean, why did you like your book is quite unique and what you write about is quite unique. Like I haven't read too much in kind of this set kind of background in nursing home. Obviously, we have Richard Osman, and who writes kind of, some of those murder kind of around
Yeah.
that area. But why do you feel at that time your book kind of hit the mark with the publishers? Do you feel like, have you kind of thought about that a little bit more deeply around like why it kind of impacted them at that point?
I think, yeah, like as I was saying, my grandfather, I think kindness is
Yeah,
magnetic. Like, I think it's just such an attractive quality that people are
yeah.
drawn to. And so I think, yeah, Fred's unconditional goodness, who
Mhm.
had time and space for everyone, it's kind of like who we all aspire to be, certainly who I aspire to be like. And I also think, we're sort of craving nostalgia at the
Mm,
moment. And I think, you know, a lot of us, may have lost our grandparents, or
yeah.
our grandparents or parents are getting elderly, and we're sort of wanting to reconnect to them in some way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's, certainly an area that people are keen to, yeah, to connect with.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's sad as we get older. Like, yeah, my grandparents aren't with me anymore. And I look
Mm.
back on of, yeah, the care homes that they were in. And, there's people that live there like for like 20, 30 years. Like it's
There
crazy.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? Uh, yeah. And I mean, I think it's such a, you can find some phenomenal ones. And I think, like you said, if you're so close to your grandparents, you want to
Mm.
make sure that they do go to a place where they get looked after. Because
Yeah.
yeah, it means so much and yeah,
Mm.
lovely people. So I'm definitely glad that you've been writing these two books. And like I said, I'm now reading When Lemons Give You Life, which I'm absolutely loving. Um, Before we kind of go into that, and you can share a bit more about kind of this book and when it's going to get released and some insight around the characters. What do you think's been like the biggest challenge for you since you started this career? Like you mentioned there about your ADHD. Do you think that's kind of a component, or what else do you think has kind of been a bit of a challenge for you?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the ADHD certainly comes into it. Having sitting at a desk for hours is not the best work scenario for me. So I've come up with creative ways of, managing getting my writing done. I always jot down notes whenever I'm out and about, because I might
Hmm.
have an idea when I'm standing in the line at the supermarket or at the hairdressers, or, on the tram. And so my stories are kind of written in all these different places, in the kitchen. And I often will go for a walk if I'm feeling blocked.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is a challenge. I guess just as well being able to let go of your book, because when you
Yeah.
do get published, you are handing it over to editors and to cover designers, and you sort of
Mhm.
have to let go of control a little bit. And I think I found that element hard, as someone who likes to be in control.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've got beautiful editors and, publicity and marketing teams, and they've all been, yeah, really lovely and gracious with me. But yeah, because it is this thing that has lived in your head for years, and you've sort of,
Mhm.
you've put your heart and soul into it. But then at some point, you have to kind of let it go a bit and say, well, this is what it is now. And this is, um, and also being happy. Like, I mean, with books too, I think you could spend 10 years editing a book if you wanted to. And some people do, like,
Yeah.
and there just has to be a point where you say, well, this is it. And you get
Yes.
it out there. And a year later, you might think, oh, I wish I hadn't included that part, or, but you just have to be at peace with what it is
Yeah. Yeah.
and hope that it will find its people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And many people, if they haven't gone through that journey before, I mean, there's so many different edit processes as well. And
Mm.
sometimes you don't want it to be perfection, because if you then think it is 100% complete and then you get a publishing deal and then they say, hold on a minute, scrap this, change
Yes.
this, it's
Yeah.
quite disheartening, isn't it? So you
Yeah.
then you
Absolutely.
say, so I think, yeah, you need to get it kind of like almost there and then be ready to kind of take take those points on board. I mean, I've had
Mm,
spoken to where they've said like they've had to basically almost rewrite the whole thing. Like they've loved the concept and they love the story, but hey, we now want to change it, the point of view, and we want to change the
yes.
setting, and so yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like almost rewriting the whole thing again, which but in a condensed time frame.
Absolutely, yes, and that was similar to what, When Lemons Give You Life had a major structural edit, not a total rewrite, but some
Yeah,
major things, and it's all the better for it. Like, I'm also very grateful that I'm not the only one reading it,
yeah,
because it's wonderful to have that expertise as well.
yeah, yeah. I had an author not so long ago. She was just like, "Oh, I'm so sick of it," and I was like, "Oh no, why?" She's like, "Because I've read it so many times. Like
Yeah,
I'm just sick of seeing it now.
yeah.
I just
Sometimes
wanted to
that's
be
the point at when you think it's done, it's just I literally can't look at it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's talk about When Lemons Give You Life. And I love like what
Yes.
made you, I mean, it's, having read half the book, it's a bit of an obvious giveaway when you start reading it. But
Mm.
what made you, how did you come up with the title first of all?
So that was not the original title.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, but my mum actually came up with that title.
I
So,
love
yeah,
that.
obviously it's a play on the well-known phrase.
Yes,
Yeah, because it's about, I guess how cooking brings a man back into the world.
I love that. And do you
Yeah.
want to give a brief kind of, let's go into a brief overview, a synopsis about the book,
Yeah.
these people who are listening?
So it's about a retired Michelin star chef called Griff Barlow. He was once an esteemed icon of the culinary world, but now he lives in a nursing home. He's lost his beautiful husband. He's mourning him. He's grumpy and depressed, and he's basically ready to depart this earth. So he comes up with this death menu, which is a list of ways in which he could sort of end things. And he just has to decide which one, by Friday. He's given himself a deadline. But being a Michelin star chef, he is determined that his last meal will not be the beige slop that they serve at the nursing home. So, on the night of his planned demise, he breaks into the nursing home kitchen to cook himself this final lemon tart. And that evokes this sort of long dormant joy. And soon he begins regularly breaking in after dark and cooking for other residents as well, and spreading that joy as well. But he is hiding a massive secret that could destroy
Mm,
the last thing he has left to protect. We also then have two point of views. There's Lisa, his younger
yeah.
half sister, who is navigating a midlife ADHD diagnosis, the spark of a new romance, and some medical news that could change life as she knows it. Griff and Lisa have been estranged for many years, but she dutifully continues to visit Griff, even though she knows hope of reconciliation is gone. Yeah, but the story is about, the fact that truth and secrets and, second chances can bubble to the surface. And when these things collide, they may just discover a recipe for redemption.
I love that. That's yeah, it just brings so much warmth. Yeah, having, read half the book now, I'm so intrigued as to what happens. I'm now coming to the point of uncovering some of these moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly am enjoying reading it. I mean, how did you create these characters? Like, were they quite easy to kind of develop, or like, and who did you kind of focus on first? Obviously, it's dual point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spend a bit more time with Griff, et cetera, getting to know him. But yeah, what did that
Yeah.
look like for you?
So Griff my characters kind of often just sounds like a bit of crazy, but introduce themselves to me. Like he
Mhm,
sort of arrived fully formed as this sort of rough, gruff, but heart of gold buried underneath type of
mhm,
guy. Obviously I couldn't and, didn't want to create a replica of Fred, who is
mhm.
always good and always has this innate sense of goodness. So I wanted to sort of create a character with a bit more edge and a bit more baggage, but still at heart, a good person. One of the things I find like is such an incredible privilege of being an author is the opportunity to step into someone else's shoes and Griff is obviously gay, and that's not my own lived experience, but I was incredibly privileged to be able to work with a queer sensitivity reader, as well as a couple of male queer writer friends who really were so generous in helping me to understand that aspect of him and how it affects his past and his
Mhm.
present. And without them, I wouldn't have even dared to write that, but they
Yeah.
actually encouraged me to dig deeper and to go further into that. So I was incredibly grateful for that. Lisa is very much inspired by in the ADHD sense, my own journey, which may be a
Yeah.
shocking revelation to some. Um, she's not a exact replica of me, but certainly the ADHD
Mhm.
side of her, and all of these sort of chaos and
Yeah.
creativity. It's certainly reflective of my own journey, but also those of, very close girlfriends and family members
Mhm.
experience who have also been diagnosed sort of in their 40s.
Yeah.
So she was very easy to write in that respect. Yeah, and a lot of the things that happened to her have literally happened to me. So
Oh, wow.
that
Yeah.
voice came easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about exposing yourself or like putting yourself out there onto paper?
I feel good about it. Like, there are obviously some things that may be embarrassing, but I think ADHD, particularly in women, is
Mm.
really misunderstood. And it's kind of become this thing that people say, oh, everyone has a bit of that. And it's quite dismissive. And so I
Mm.
think, yeah, like after my own diagnosis, I just learnt so much because I, like many, had originally thought that, it was this condition that was mainly for hyperactive little boys in
Mm.
class who couldn't sit still. But the way it presents in women is so, so different.
Mm.
And particularly, yeah, it made sense of a lot of sort of conflicting things. So, like how I could study so hard and, get good grades, get into
Mhm.
medical school, be so organized to do that, and yet be overwhelmed by basic housekeeping tasks or,
Yeah.
how, yeah, there was like deep empathy that could exist with creativity, but then also chaos, all of these
Mhm.
elements, and I wanted to capture that sort of with empathy and humor on the
Yeah.
page, and I do hope that, yeah, women who have experienced a similar journey, I really hope they feel
Mhm.
seen, and I hope that their friends and family might, yeah, just get a little bit of insight into what it's
Yeah.
actually like as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think you'll probably start having once people start reading the book and it's released out that probably very similar to your debut, like people connecting with you, sharing those stories, like when you go and do your events. Because yeah, I mean, ADHD, people keep calling it a buzzword now, but I think you know
Yeah.
when we were growing up, it's that situation where I don't know. I just don't think there was an opportunity for us to. No one really spoke about that, did they? I mean, nowadays,
No.
ADHD and autism so much, but there's so much more support out there,
Mm.
more organizations out there to help you, and they
Yeah.
actually understand it more now so they can see what some of these symptoms or triggers are. But I think, especially when I was growing up, I mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
was spoken about, was it? So I think we're now seeing, like you said, people later on in life getting diagnosed. And maybe if
Mm.
they were in the world today, having been born, it would be easier. And maybe you were diagnosed as a child. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
think in like the 80s, it's just, it just didn't
Mm.
really, it wasn't out there at that time, especially where I was growing up in the UK.
It's the same for me as well. And I think one thing I heard someone say was, like people ask, well, why are there so many ADHD diagnoses
Mm.
now? It's the same reason that we know that there's more stars when the telescope got invented. Like
Yes.
we
Yeah.
understand more, we understand what constitutes it more, and the criteria have changed, and
Yeah.
they've really studied how differently it presents in women and even adults compared to children. And so
Mm.
it's not that there's more people with ADHD, it's just that there's more people that they recognize as having
Yes.
ADHD.
Yeah, and I think that's phenomenal, right? I think we should be in a world where
Yeah.
we can identify that and then get the support that is required. Even just, I think, like you mentioned, like even just to have that diagnosis to then understand that, oh, okay, some of these, personality traits of mine. That's the reason why.
Mm,
Not that you need to change or anything. It's just acknowledging that, okay, this is
yeah. Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and knowledge is power, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I got the diagnosis because it's definitely been like it's a hard thing, but it's also,
Hmm.
knowledge is power. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope a lot of people can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, thank you for putting that out into your book because I think it will definitely relate to people. And I think you'll get a lot of recognition around that as well. Just quickly, because it goes back in time a little bit, was that something that
Mm,
you originally incorporated into? And I think it just tells more of the backstory, which we love, because then you get to
yes.
know the people and what's happened. But yeah, is that something that you initially had inputted into your first drafts?
In the first drafts, no, it was more sort of like reflecting on the
Hmm.
past. But yeah, through the edits, I actually made them actual flashbacks, which worked so much better because you could then sort of be in the moment
Mm,
experiencing it.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was one of the hardest things to write. So I had like all of these post-it notes and trying to work out, which piece of information do you
Yeah.
reveal first? With this genre, like I've really tried to like I love, the pace and the thrill of,
Mhm.
crime fiction and thrillers, but
Yeah.
but feel good fiction and, sort of that heart stirring fiction is
Yeah.
is where I will always be most comfortable writing, but I wanted to kind of combine the genres so
Yeah.
that not that there's any crime, but that you've got those little reveals and those little,
Yes.
to keep the reader turning the pages so the story is gradually unfolded.
Yeah. And what's kind of next for you? Like, I mean, not to kind of like push past like your novel that's
Yeah.
now about to come into the world, but do you think you'll keep writing like similar to these two books, or do you have kind of a pivot moment that you might write something different?
So I am already writing book 3,
Yeah.
which is not set in a nursing home. It
Yeah.
does have an older protagonist again,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm really excited about that as well. I'm excited about trying something outside of the aged care industry, but still
Yeah.
having an older character, which is something I'm passionate about. So yeah, that will be quite a different one. And then I also have my book tour coming up,
Yes.
which is yeah, really exciting. So I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
So where can people find you and where can people find information on your book tour? So where you're going to be and where they can potentially come and see you?
Yeah, so my Instagram account is at Anna Johnston author. Johnston with a T, no E. My dad still misspells it. And also Facebook, Anna Johnston author. My website is annajohnstonauthor.com.
Yep.
And that has all of my events. You can also find the Australian events through the Penguin website. They're all on there. So, yes, that's the best way.
Brilliant. Well, I'm so excited for you. Have you got anything planned to kind of kickstart like anything personally planned? Are you celebrating with your family, with your friends?
Well, after the Melbourne launch, there will be, a little bit of a dinner and
Oh,
dancing
nice.
celebration after the Melbourne launch. So, yeah, that's
Right.
always a lot of fun. I love any excuse to dance and have a party.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, I'm wishing you all the best and I hope the book tour is a huge hit for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Thanks so much, Anna.
Bye.